Jim, a big game on Sunday against Hearts. How are you feeling ahead of it?
Well, obviously we're going into the game in good spirits after a really good result and performance up in Dingwall last weekend, and we want to try and build on that now. Defensively, we were solid. We had a really good shape about the team, and got back to the basics in terms of the defensive side of things. So we're going to need more of the same against a good Hearts team at Tynecastle on Sunday, and hopefully with a similar outcome.
Team news ahead of Sunday?
Well, it's that time of the season. I'm pretty sure most managers out there are in a similar situation to ourselves, where there's lots of players carrying little knocks and niggles. So we've got a decision or two to make on certain individuals after the exploits of last weekend. We'll give those players every chance right up until Sunday morning before we make a decision on what the starting 11 looks like.
Obviously, top six, all but mathematically, you're there, but I guess from your point of view, it's about sort of getting over the line and make sure it's not about maths, it's about you being there.
Well, yes, of course. I mean, look, we've put ourselves in a great position, and we've not been out of the top six pretty much all season, which is credit to the group. Off the back of, just been recently promoted, I think it's a great points return from the team. But we've put ourselves in a really strong position at the moment. Of course, there's fixtures to be played tomorrow, but it's very much in our hands. We don't want to be relying on anybody. I think St Mirren have had a really good season. They're hitting a bit of form at the right time as well, and I would expect St Mirren to win their next two fixtures, and that ultimately means that we need to go and get a result in one of the next two games. But we're going to Tynecastle in a positive fashion. We know how difficult the game is going to be, and Hearts have got some really good quality players throughout the team. I think the recruitment in January was very positive as well, so there hasn't been a great deal between the two teams in the last couple of fixtures. Obviously we've shaded one at Tynecastle and they shaded one at Tannadice most recently, so on judging on that, Sunday's game is going to be a very tight one between two good teams.
You speak about shading it the last two times that you two sides met. Last weekend against Ross County, it was just 1-0, but you got over the line, you got there. How important are those kind of victories at this stage of the season?
Really important. That result on Saturday was a huge one. Given the circumstances, given the poor run of form that we've kind of been on going into the game, coming off the back of a really poor defeat against Dundee, having conceded as many goals as what we did. There was a number of individual mistakes within the Dundee game. It was great to have the couple of weeks to prepare for the game against Ross County, and we were able to iron out some of those issues that we felt we had. And the clean sheet speaks volumes. I think our defensive record right from the early part of the season has been very, very good. And that's what's put us in this position. So I think Sunday is going to be very similar, against a really good attacking team with some very good quality players in the forward area. So the concentration levels, the organisation, it's all going to be called into question again on Sunday. And as I keep saying every week, we believe that we've got good quality players in the team ourselves, and we always back ourselves to score. So fingers crossed we can just carry on that kind of good form defensively into a really difficult fixture on Sunday.
In terms of Hearts, a lot's been made of the diamond they play and have been playing all season. What have you made of that, and what do you make of the team as a whole?
Well, I think there's lots of different systems and formations in this league, and I think that's what makes it so exciting, but it also makes it extremely difficult as a manager, because every team has got its own way of playing. No two games are ever the same. And I think Neil Critchley has done a terrific job since he's came to the club. I think the points return that he's had since coming in, I think puts him third or fourth in the league table. So they've had a strong season. Okay, they had a bit of a slow start, but they've managed to galvanise themselves and put themselves in that top six position at the moment, which I'm pretty sure is what the supporters would have been looking for as a bare minimum at the start of the season. The system is a different one. They want to dominate that midfield area. It definitely causes us to ask questions of ourselves in terms of how we stop them when they have possession, but at the same time we've got to exploit the areas that we feel we can get a bit of advantage in. So it'll be a difficult game on Sunday. There's no doubt about that. Given the quality of players the Hearts have got, Tynecastle is probably one of the the best away days in the league. I think everybody would tell you that in terms of how compact the stadium is, the atmosphere tends to be good, and we're hoping for a repeat performance of the one we had early on in the season there.
Just one last one from me. Ross Docherty was picked out as one of the standouts in Dingwall. How important do you think he can be if he stays fit in this last stage of the season?
Well, I had a good conversation with Ross at the beginning of the week, just explaining how important the next kind of 8 weeks are going to be for him. His lack of availability since coming to the club has been a major disappointment for him and for us, and for me as a manager not to be able to select him as often as what I would have liked. But I think you can see the influence he has on the team when he plays. He was outstanding at Dingwall. He's still not fully fit in terms of where we would like him to be, but that's due to the fact that he's had a number of different injuries over the course of the season. But he looks as if he's stronger now physically. He's getting through training, less aches and pains. He's a real leader. That's why I made him club captain when I brought him to the club. And I think he's got a big 7 games coming up. And when Ross is fit and available, he certainly makes us a better team.
Do you feel the game might be influenced on Sunday by the fact that Hearts effectively need to win to get or pursue their top 6 ideas, obviously, from there, and then as a result of that might lead to more opportunities for Dundee United?
I think it's fair to say that it's probably more of a must-win fixture for Hearts than it is for ourselves. But with that said, we're not going there with a negative mindset of trying not to lose the game. We want to go there and try and win the game. We know that we're going to have a good shape about us out of possession because of what I said to the previous question with the quality of players that they've got in the forward areas. But as I said, I believe St Mirren will win their next 2 fixtures. I think that's going to mount a lot of pressure on Hearts, and they have to, I suppose, be a bit more open and expansive than what maybe we have to do. And if we can exploit those areas on the counter-attack, then that's something that we'll look to try and do.
How intimidating is it for the management team and the players to go to a place like Tynecastle where it is so on top of you with probably an intense crowd? What's the best way to overcome that?
I don't think intimidation is the right word. It can be a very hostile venue in terms of the atmosphere that the supporters generate. They always turn out in good numbers, the Hearts fans. It is one of the better away days in the calendar. There's no doubt about that. A fantastic new stadium. The development that they've done at Tynecastle has really improved the place, and it makes for a really good game of football, hopefully. But they're a good side, Hearts. It's going to be a really, really difficult game. I would like to think that my players won't be overawed by it. They've proven already at the early part of the season that they enjoyed going there, and I think as a professional player you want to play in the big stadiums. You want to go and showcase your talents in front of a big crowd, and I don't think intimidation will be a problem. I think my boys will be excited for it.
You said previously, I think, that at the start of the season you were aiming for 45 points is where you were hoping to get to by this particular point in the season. Do you feel that was realistic at the time, or do you feel that that's what you deserve to be in?
I think the number of 45, I think, has proven to be realistic given the situation at the moment. As I've said, in months gone by, on average over the last 10 seasons, 43 points has tended to be enough to get you into that top 6. We believed it was going to be a little bit more this year, given how competitive and how strong the league was. And yeah, we set ourselves a target of 45. We wanted to try and average 15 points every 11 games. We believed if we got to 45 points, that would be enough to secure the top 6. Now, hopefully we can get there. We're bang on track to achieve that. We've got 2 games to go. We can actually exceed, that points target if things go according to plan over the next 2 games, which would be fantastic, and it would put us in a really strong position into the post-split fixtures. So yeah, there's still a lot to be played for. We are not taking anything for granted. We expect St Mirren to finish the season strongly in the next couple of games, and we just need to take care of our own business and make sure that we get the job done on our terms.
recruitment for next season? Obviously, is that a high focus at the moment? And things have changed, obviously, with some of the background staff. But for you, is that something that you're focusing on at the moment?
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, similar to all the clubs out there, the recruitment is not something that you just think about window to window. It's constant. We've been, looking at the summer window pretty much from January, and that's something that we have to do to make sure that we're ahead of the game.